Referring to the shop across the street, the other bowl workshop. The scene then shifts to that bustling workshop where everyone is scrambling to meet their weekly delivery deadlines. Monica, Light and Aya enter and Monica asks her father Ival to craft a sword for Light. Ival is incredulous that she would push customers whose demands she can't satisfy, and she argues that it's better than making weapons for disreputable merchants. He tells her to mind her own business and return to her shop, prompting her to leave while muttering that she shouldn't have come here in the first place. Light then turns to Ival about the sword, only to learn that he's already overloaded with a major order for the next 6 months. He's advised to ask someone else, so Light departs, determined that he truly wants his sword made by Monica. Allah suggests they try asking her again when a worker from Ival's workshop named Kane stops Light by calling out his name. Light recalls that he never properly introduced himself, and Kane explains that he had seen Light's duel against Bruce. Khan couldn't believe that Rookie managed to defeat Bruce using nothing more than a deck brush, and from that moment on he became a fan of Light. Light explains that because of that duel those who support the Holy Sister have shunned him, so Kane immediately realizes that this is why Light sought them out, and he points out that Monica and her father are the only blacksmiths in the district who do not favor the Holy Sister, prompting Light to ask why they operate separate workshops. Kane then reveals that Monica once worked as a blacksmith in her own workshop, and 3 years ago she skyrocketed to fame throughout the Holy City when she acquired her super forge skill. However, about 6 months ago supply wagon was ambushed by bandits outside of town, and Monica's grandmother, who was aboard, was killed along with the others. The security bureau quickly apprehended the bandits and discovered Monica's signature on the weapons they had used. Although Monica was not directly involved, the weapons had passed through several hands before reaching the bandits, so her grandmother's life was still lost because of a sword she had forged, leaving her deeply scarred. Light realizes this tragic incident is why Monica despises swords and has a strained relationship with her father. Just then Zambo and his underling Doug are calling for Ival. Khan identifies Zambo as a merchant from the Blackbird merchant group. Zambo then mentions that he recalls seeing Light somewhere before, and Ial approaches to inquire about his business. Dam explains that he has more orders and presents a contract stipulating that they will purchase his weapons on a weekly basis for another year. Kane doubts they can manage so many orders since they are already struggling, and Doug adds that if necessary he will simply have Monica take charge, praising her exceptional skill. After all, anyone dealing in weapons would be eager to acquire her work, as she can forge strong arms even from mere scraps. Light interjects, reminding them that Monica is reluctant to make swords but insists that they will have to compel her to do so if needed. He activates his skill and Ival evaluates it, but before matters can escalate further, Ival tells Zambo that you will accept the order and signs the contract, so Zambo and his lackey end apart. Khan then confides that the Blackbird merchant group is using Monica as a bargaining chip to extract favorable terms from them. He explains that Ival is being forced into these deals in order to protect Monica. Ival then asks Light not to inform Monica of these developments, and when Light inquires why, Ival simply responds that it isn't necessary for her to know and leaves. After the night falls, Light and Aya arrive at Monica's workshop where Monica insists she won't forge a sword for him. Undeterred, Light simply asks her out to dinner instead, and she agrees. The scene then shifts to show them enjoying a hearty feast together. During the meal, Monica discovers that Aya possesses an appraisal skill which she finds astounding, remarking that everyone in the tradesman district would be clamoring to get a piece of her if word of her talent spread. Chim expresses a desire to have all work in her shop, but Aya explains that her heart is set on adventuring with Light, leaving no room for a tradesman life, so Monica feels that A's worth is too great to be overlooked, but then she tells them to eat to their heart's content and even offers to foot the bill. Like objects, arguing that they were the ones who invited her out, but Monica insists they consider it a token of gratitude for having saved her, adding that it had been nearly half a year since she last shared a meal with anyone. With the offer on the table, Light orders an abundance of food, and Monica can't help but think he really doesn't hold back. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Zambo meets with the Holy Sister, who requests additional weapons. Zambo agrees and mentions that he spotted Light in a tradesman district earlier that day. He adds that they've already taken steps, so they should be able to present Light to her soon. Pleased by the news, the Holy Sister decides to dispatch a spy to ensure the security bureau stays out of the picture. She hopes that Zambo won't harm Light as she needs him alive, and he concurs. Elsewhere, after returning from her meal, Monica encounters Doug, who unexpectedly kidnaps her. At the same time, Light and I are heading home when C rushes up to them, urging them to come back to the workshop. They comply, and C shows them a note bearing Monica's goggles that had been stuck on the front door. Reading the note, Light discovers that Monica has been kidnapped and that he is being summoned to the underground arena on his own. One of the tradesmen explains that the underground arena serves as the stronghold of the Blackbird merchant group and is situated on the outskirts of the tradesmen's district. Just then Ivel steps out determined to rescue his daughter, but Kane intervenes, warning him that he won't be able to take on the kidnappers alone. Light then volunteers to go in his stead since they specifically requested him, and he promptly departs. Meanwhile, inside the arena, Monica awakens to find herself chained up. She demands to know what her captors plan to do, and they coldly reply that she's merely bait intended to lure Light so that they can capture him once he comes to rescue her. Doug adds that given her unique skill, she will be forced to forge weapons for them for the rest of her life. Just then Light bursts into the arena, and his solitary arrival prompts his capts to sneer, convinced he is foolish for coming alone. In response, they unleash a rampaging Taurus, and it's a massive bull-like monster. Doug taunts him, claiming that between the furious bull and their combined might, Light is doomed to be slaughtered, yet Light remains calm and summons a sleep fairy, casting a spell that sends both the Taurus and his enemies into a deep slumber. Monica, bewildered by the sudden turn of events, is then free from her chains by Light, who tells her it's time to head home, and she feels that she now owes him 2 favors. The scene then shifts to their return to the workshop, where they find Light carrying Monica. Ivel then rushes over and asks if she's alright, to which Light replies that she's fine and she just merely inhaled some lingering sleep pixie scales and will eventually wake up. Ivel shakes his head, remarking that his daughter is quite the troublemaker, while Light gently lays her down in the workshop, and Ivel thanks him sincerely for saving Monica. Elsewhere, a little boy approaches the Holy Sister and questions whether it's truly necessary to allocate so many resources to Light. The Holy Sister, in tone mixing curiosity with Thor, reveals that she wants to determine whether Light is truly the legendary prior. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.